And he told them this parable. A certain man had a fig tree planted in his vineyard, and he went looking for fruit, and he did not find it. And he said to the vine dresser, "Look, I have been looking for fruit on this fig tree for years, 3 years, and I have not found it. Cut it down. Why should it tire the earth?" The servant then answering said to him, "Lord, leave it for this year still, until I dig around it and fertilize it, and if it bears fruit next year, fine, and if not, I will cut it." Luke 13:6-9, New American Standard Bible. Guardians of the Earth. There have always been records of two stories told simultaneously in our world. The ordinary, everyday story of humanity that we know as our universal history, as well as its sacred history. For those of us who believe in the reality of the spiritual dimension, what happens first in the spiritual realm is always the cause of the material manifestations that we witness in our three-dimensional world. In the same way, our sacred history is always the initial cause of what happens in our everyday history. The general history of humanity has been, at least in the last 2000 years, Eurocentric, considering as universal the events that have occurred in only a few European countries, ignoring what happened in the same historical period in other parts of the world. On many occasions, this universal history of humanity with Eurocentric characteristics has been written by historians of the conquering nations who ignore the wisdom, authentic values, and worldviews of the conquered nations. This is so because they consider them insignificant. The sacred history of our world, on the other hand, is the spiritual recount of the ascending, cyclical, and spiraling evolution of humanity, and is fundamentally focused on the expansion of consciousness and the achievement of a superior spirituality for the entire human race. Even though there are hermetic sacred traditions hidden within the main religions, the sacred history of humanity has frequently been in charge and under the care of the sacred indigenous traditions of humanity and the guardians of this planet. The reason for this is very simple. The sacred indigenous traditions of humanity consider all life on the planet sacred and are consistent with their affirmation preserving their natural environment and living in harmony with our planet. Despite the terrible overpopulation and materialism that characterizes our times, there are individuals who have refused to accept that there are no other options for our world than the unjust, domesticated and predatory societies that currently prevail on our planet. An example of these options exists, and it's made up of groups of guardians of the earth, a tradition that has followed two basic spiritual insights: silence and synthesis. An internal silence that allows us to overcome the ego and listen to the voice of the Creator that shows us His will. And synthesis, which is the necessary element to use in order to extract the positive contributions that exist in the sacred traditions of all times. The decisive battle for the destiny of humanity, the survival of our planet and its access to a new era characterized by the superior values of the Spirit has already begun. The Earth Guardians are participating in this battle, always on the front lines. At the same time, the process of spiritual rebirth that attempts to safeguard the entire planet is already underway at this time. Applied and practical spiritual ecology. Spiritual ecology has been defined as the intersection between religion, spirituality, and environmentalism. Although many definitions have been given about spiritual ecology, in our experience, spiritual ecology, when it's a practical activity applied to a specific region or place, and not a mere intellectual exercise, refers to works of protection and preservation of specific places and natural regions. In this activity, prayer, silence, and ritual are used to achieve the goal of protecting nature. The ancient and sacred traditions of humanity have always shown us how to do this. They do it constantly, and thanks to their persistence and sacrifices, we have a planet that still works. This, despite the Homo economicus that is systematically preying on our natural resources to enrich itself. Showing respect and appreciation through the care and protection of the domains of our beloved Gaia has many advantages because it makes us better human beings and help us to create ecological awareness among our societies. Also, because we are fortunate to still have among us elders and guardians of the sacred traditions who agree to help us in our efforts when we're encouraged by a sincere desire to help and know how to ask for their help. Nature is sacred, a mystical temple in which magic, the supernatural and the spiritual dimensions are intermingled with the energy matrix of the planet and through it with the cosmos. This is so because our Mother Nature is happily not a product of the human intellect, but a wonderful gift from our Creator. Let us never forget that our Divine Mother is an aspect of our Creator. Nature is our mother. It sustains us and nurtures our body and our spirit. If we destroy our environment, we destroy ourselves. Energetic protection of natural places, an urgent task. A deep relationship with the natural world is essential to face the environmental challenges of our time. There is no other way. We need to raise our level of consciousness. Feeling connected to nature can be a source of strength and motivation to move our world towards a more sustainable future. The connection with nature is a benefit for our physical and mental health. As we connect with nature, we become smarter, healthier, and happier. Walking in the atmosphere of a forest increases the immune system, reduces blood pressure and stress, and improves mood. However, this is more than just seeing trees. We need to carefully absorb nature with our senses. We all have felt the difference in our general well-being when we are in nature and how we feel when we are in the middle of a big city. Connecting with nature is beneficial for our physical and mental health. Unfortunately, nature is being sickened by the hostile, ignorant, and self-centered attitude of the dominant cultures of our time, all for a handful of dollars. The physical imbalance we have created is the result of the mental imbalance in which we are living. This is where our tasks as guardians of the earth took shape and all the meaning of the world for us, helping to clean dirty natural environments so that their trapped energy could flow freely everywhere, thus restoring its functioning in a specific environment and thereby benefiting people living in its area of influence. The energetic vibrational geodesic pattern. Whether we like it or not, believe it or not, our beautiful planet is a living being. We live as mere microbes in an impressive living organism that has a network of centers and points energetically connected to each other. It even has chakras, which are part of an energy system like the ones we have. There are some places in the world that have very intense pulsations of magnetic energy. Some of these points have been considered by humanity intuitively as sacred places, and religious enclosures such as cathedrals, churches, and sanctuaries have been built on them. Chartres in France, or Santiago de Compostela in Spain, San Pedro in Rome, or Notre Dame in France, Sedona in Arizona, and Machu Picchu in Peru are some examples. These places positively affect our physical and spiritual awareness and are important points of coincidence of magnetic lines. Our planet Earth has its own vibrational frequency, and there are people capable of tuning into this ecological energy. Our group has been lucky enough to tune into this energy on several occasions thanks to our disciplined ceremonial walks, and because we have carried them out as a group and with all humility. It is also possible to exchange energy with the earth and receive sustenance from their environment. An example of a power line that connects two energy points to each other is a sacred path that connects the Notre Dame Cathedral in France with the Cathedral of Santiago de Compostela in Spain, a path traveled by many walkers that is known as El Camino. Many pilgrims from El Camino have been impacted by spiritual experiences during their extensive walks on this energy line. An energetically clean, sacred space always becomes a place of power. For a place of power to be fully functioning, it must have a connecting line of clean energy that unites it with another sacred space that is also clean. Our planet has a network of energy vibrational geodesic patterns. In his book Journey to Ixtlan, its author Carlos Castaneda in 1972 referred to this pattern that the seers of the Don Juan Matus lineage can see, and who they call the lines of the world. When Castaneda could finally see them, He defined them as an extraordinary profusion of white, fluorescent, visible, and constant lines that intersected all around him, overlapping or crossing everything around him. However, many of the energy focal points that exist in this vibrational geodesic pattern are currently dirty, very dirty, malfunctioning, and almost energetically inactive due to the careless treatment, misuse, and constant degradation to which they have been subjected by humanity through the centuries. These events have negatively affected the well-being and level of consciousness of humanity, as we can witness these days everywhere. The ancient sacred traditions of humanity have been constantly cleaning important focal points of this energy network to prevent this degradation, taking care of them and awakening their energy periodically through ritual representations of the mythical history that exists in these locations, regenerating the vital force that sustains them. These rituals are intended to cleanse these points and their connecting lines so the special energy that was obstructed in a specific place could flow again freely, and thus contributing to the awakening of the sleepy consciousness of the inhabitants of that particular region. The portals of silence. In our practical and applied spiritual ecology work, the attainment of inner silence was used as a key to open a portal leading to the sacred dimensions of our Mother Nature. One of the most effective means of creating portals of silence is by interacting with a natural environment in internal silence and with an attitude of respect and humility. The basic mode of operation for achieving inner silence is the use of prayer, meditation, and silent ceremonial walks in a natural setting. In his book, The Fire from Within, Carlos Castaneda in 1984 wrote about the rising of the earth that his teacher, the Yaqui Indian Juan Matus, explained is a push that comes from the consciousness of the earth when there is an alignment between the earth and a spiritual warrior. And he affirmed that this alignment can be used to perceive because perception is alignment. Don Juan added that the magic key that opens the doors of the earth is made of internal silence or the suspensions of internal dialogue and of anything that shines. A portal opens when there is silent alignment, and in the protocol in which I was immersed, all our activities were oriented towards the opening of silent portals. As a direct consequence of the opening of a silent portal, the sacred dimension of our Mother Nature that we manage to access cleanses the negative mental and emotional traces that we carry due to our daily struggles with the world in which we have lived, and fills our life with an entire sense of overwhelming peace.